Good morning. Denise Dryden. I'm out here on Bainbridge Island doing my weekly video, and this is the last Sunday of 2020. So I wanted to talk about sort of how we bring 2020 in from a parenting and from a what are you noticing in yourself and what are you noticing in your children? Because I've been coaching for the last 25 years and my focus has always been on teens individuating from the parent, right? You know, what does it take to push away and to sort of like, I need you guys to stop. I have my own life to go live. And then what does it take for the parents to sort of release and let this kid go do what they need to do? And I gotta tell you, in this last year, I've seen, you know, some extreme examples of where these teens are going like, you know, you don't understand. There's been school refusal, there's been power struggles, there's been self-medicating, you know, the conflict's been huge. However, you know, what we're trying to do is we're trying to move parents off of this idea of what is it that you used to hold on to, what is it that used to work for you, and what isn't working anymore, right? You know, where did you get your images? Where did you get your roles as to what you thought parenting was and what this kid is telling you that they need right now? So most models, you know, have been working from the top down, and they have for the last 2,000-3,000 years as we've sort of had this patriarchal culture where we, you know, there's the teacher, there's the parent, there's the boss, there's the priest, there's the, you know, think of all of these things where everybody goes up to the top and says, I need you to guide me, I need you to lead me. And the more we have that imprinted in our system, the harder times we are having with the children that we are raising. And so, you know, it seems to me that there are some really new tools that we want to look at because, you know, baby boomers, man, we got it down. We know that father knows best. We know that, you know, the happy days stuff where everybody's like in line and we're sort of eking this out of our system one moment at a time, right? Gen Xers, man, they were in the middle of all of it, the divorcing, the parents going back to work, they were sort of making it up as they went along. You know, they have been creating parenting from a new dynamic. And what I have noticed in the Gen Xers that I've been coaching is that they want so much for their children that they are unable to stop helping. They help with homework, they help with timelines, they help with reminders, they text, they, you know, and the constant feedback from college professors and from teachers is that like I have to deal with the student in my class and the mom and the dad and or the, you know, the parents as to who is all working on getting this kid through school, right? And then the millennials, they are looking at new ways of parenting. They're softer, they're they're paying attention on a different level. They're young parents, you know, they're in their 34, 35 and under. So, you know, the other part that's been really new in my coaching practice is that I've been coaching, I got more than half a dozen families now where I'm coaching 3-year-old to 12-year-olds. And the focus isn't about the parents, you know, the teens sort of needing to individuate. It's from the parents having to individuate from their family systems, from their cultural expectations, from those ways, because they can tell what their kid needs, but they also cannot, they're struggling with how to break some of these old traditions within themselves and old ways of patterning. So what I'm seeing is that as parents are individuating from the old culture, from the imprinting, from the conditioning, from the programming of old, it makes sense to sort of talk about what is individuating and what does that really mean. So to individuate is of our own choice. To form into a separate, distant, you know, distinct entity. Separation, distance, and distinct, right? To distinguish one from another. I need to know who I am separate from you. To become an individual, and use that individuality to guide myself rather than part of a whole. And to differentiate from others, especially those from the same species. So, you know, when we individuate, it's kind of like, I love you and I need some space, right? I need to be over here. Now, I'm going to do an entire series, not entire series, I'm going to do an entire show next week on individuation. So, because I came across an article that does a really good outline of what the stages of individuation are, right? So the focus is on these new skills of what is it that the young ones need from us right now that's different than what we thought it was, what we wanted it to be, and how different is it? What do we need to do? So I want to just start with something that I've talked about in some of my interviews on iTunes and through some of the summits, but not a lot here because I've been kind of playing it safe. So I'm not playing it safe anymore. No way. So I want to talk about the new earth sort of direction, the new earth that I've been seeing and aligning it with academic testing, psychological evaluations, patterns in parenting and family systems over the last 20 years. So in the late 70s and 80s, what we had is this influx of indigo energy. And what this brought in was a lot of truth seekers, a lot of dismantlers, which is kind of like, if you're not doing that, then stop. And so what we saw is this sort of dismantling, this disruption. That's when they came out with the oppositional defiant, right? It was like it doesn't matter what I do, this person is not going to yield in calling me out on my stuff, and I'd rather blame that person than assume than to own what stuff it is that they're seeing in me that I want to address, right? So that's the indigo energy, 70s and 80s. In the late, like in 1989 through the 90s, we saw the crystal energy. And the crystals are some of my favorites because they are quieter, they're super intelligent, they notice everything, and they're vibrational. It's kind of like, and we're seeing this deeply embedded into the millennial age, right? Which is, if it doesn't feel good, I can't do it, because there's so much dissonance. So they've been changing education, they've been changing work, they've been changing the way that they do relationship, the way that they hold friendship, because everything that they do is vibrational, right? So we have the truth seekers, and now the truth seekers plus vibration. So hang in here. So at 1999, 2000 to 2005, we have a very small generation of rainbows. Now, what I love about the rainbows is that just by their sheer presence on this planet, they changed everything. They're blenders. I often said that they're like the bees that move around, from plant to plant, cross-pollinating, mixing things up. They don't care about gender. They don't care about age. They don't care about where you live. They're experimenting with their bodies. They're looking at, like, how do I become more gray or neutral in the middle, so it's not so extreme, not so polarized on one side or the other, or I'm out of duality. So these kids started arriving, and what we noticed is everything, the beginning of 2000, turned into blending. How do we get away from gender identification? How do we get away from these different statuses that we've held on to for so long? And so now we have the truth seekers, we have the vibration. We started to sort of learn more about vibration, right? And then now we have the bring it together, and it's not about our differences, it's about what commonalities we have. All of this was paving the way for this Aquarian diamond energy. So these diamond children started arriving in 2005 forward. What I have seen in these diamond children is that they're like little Buddhas. They're like little Yodas. They are just wise, and they look at you with these eyes. I used to see them in the playgrounds. I'd meet one of my young friends' new child, and I'd be like, wow, look at how much wisdom you have in that little body, right? They're telepathic. They have multiple intelligences. They're super sensitive and empathic and emotional with others. They hold compassion. And they cannot and will not adhere to some of these old traditional school environments, top-down management. You're going to notice it, that they kind of just, they're not confrontational like the indigos. They're just simply going to move away, or they're going to say, I can't, or I don't want to. And so you're working with a completely different energy from these 12 and under kids, right? 15 and under. So the Diamond parents are starting to show up now for guidance. They're like, this is a different kid. This kid is highly intuitive in telling me what's going on at school. I love Tara Soto Regester's interview on the last summit I had, which is really about what happens when your kid starts to tell you what they need. And so then how do you parent a self-assured or even a very non-assured student child who doesn't understand how different they are from the world, yet they're the future? So how do we get in alignment with them and master them as they go forward, right? So this is individuation. This is individuation on a whole new level. So now we have to let go of what used to work, what we know in our bodies. Hey, I used to play sports. I used to love playing piano. I used to like to go to dance or play soccer. Or these are the books I used to read that I loved. We have to sort of like get rid of all of that, and we have to co-create with our children. What is it that you need? And how can I use my wisdom and my skill sets and my tools to help you find those? So it's not putting the child first, it's collaborating with the child. So what does your child need you to be? And what changes can you make in your parent, grandparent, friend, uncle, aunt, or colleague as you're employing these young ones, as they start to come up through the employment system? Is like, how do you become someone who sees the profound change that's happening right in front of you from these little ones, and what the future is that they're going to, and what does need to be dismantled? Because it's huge, right? So imagine that you're parenting someone that you were told in a little dream before they were born that this is the next person to change the world. I often thought of, the 1984 Terminator when Sarah Connor's like, yeah, evidently this son of mine that I'm here to protect is supposed to change the world. I think of who else is there. What happens when you're the parent of somebody who's going to do that kind of magical work? How would you do it differently? What would you do? What skills would you need to know? And how do you know what skills to learn? So what I wanted to do was put together a list of some of the things that I'm noticing that I'm consistently teaching parents who are trying to support teens in their individuating, and also parents of young, new earth children, these new little diamonds, right? So the first one, and this isn't the skills and tips yet, I've got those, but the sort of categories, the things that I think are most important, is that you have to be truth. You have to be impeccable with your word. You go to the 4 agreements. You can't lie or twist or bend or avoid, or if you do, you get to say to the kid, watch me, bend this around, watch me do that, because they have to know that you have an awareness that you're doing that, right? And to have the courage to step away from things that are not in truth for you, right? The other one is to trust your feelings and your sensitivities and your empathic skills. Your body, your energy system is going to tell you what works for you and what doesn't. And you're going to, have to work on to adjust the volume. Oh my gosh, I'm a yeller. My child cannot deal with my yelling. I have to bring my volume down. I'm intense. I care so much. I have to pull that back. How do you understand this body energy system and what you're throwing at your children and where you're managing it, right? How do you know yourself and your energy? The other thing is to refuse to be black and white. You cannot say, when I was a little girl, this is what we did. Or, girls wear pink, boys wear blue. I know that's an old-fashioned idea, but at the same time, I look at the stores. When you go to shop and you know that you're having a little baby girl, they direct you over to the pink section. Or if you're going to have a boy, they direct you over to the light browns and blues. And it's kind of like, oh, yeah, where's the middle stuff? What's kind of fun about the blending? So look beyond gender, address your own security or insecurity about the boxes that you have. Like, this is your safety zone. This is what you know. And then get outside of that and go, what if this little one's going to teach me how to be different in all of those? Let go of all previous imprinting and conditioning that's been on top of you, and to sort of mix things up, right? So this is powerful. This is a powerful place to start, because what we're doing is we're learning who we are and how to unwind the last 20, 30, 40 years. And we have to look at consciously implementing what comes next. So one of the tools that is the most important that I teach all of my parents when I'm coaching is presence. How do you stand in a sense of self and presence? How do you trust your intuition, trust yourself, trust your patience? How do you hold compassion? My child's having a temper tantrum. Boy, I wonder what's going on. I'm not going to react in anger or threaten or grab hard. I'm going to simply say, it looks like you're having a temper tantrum. These are old skills and some of the deepest skills that I've ever had to learn, which is how do you understand when you're in reaction and when you're not? Because whether you're raising a little Yoda, you know, if you look at the new shows, you know, these little beautiful little creatures, right? They are much wiser than we are. They are many more skills. So tips and skills. So I got 7 of them for you. So hang in there and stick with me, and let's go through them. So the first thing is to imagine that you are raising a significant being. Start to look at that child as being very significant to the world, and that you have to learn who they are. You have to learn how to see them. You have to learn how to address what you have in your skill set that will help them with their purpose. So what we do is we shift from, I need you to come and honor me as the elder, and we move it forward, which is, who are you and what do you need? That's the first one. The second one, read as much as you can about the Aquarian age. You know, go through, what are Aquarians? What does it mean to be Aquarian? And don't get so lost out there that you can't remember anything. Stick with some very solid concepts of what is an Aquarian child going to look like. They're intelligent, they're independent, they're innovative, they're compassionate, and they're collaborators. So they're going to take independence and collaboration, and they're going to bring it together. They're going to be intelligent and say, you're doing this, and then they're going to have their own sovereignty as to what they're going to do about that. That means we as parents have to have our shit together, right? We have to know ourselves well enough not to take this stuff personally, right? Number 3, get a solid sense of yourself. Know what triggers you. Know what calms you down. Know what old tapes you're playing and where they came from, and of the mother, of the father, of the roles, and unwind them and relearn them or just throw them out. As well as, you know, what matters to you in your life and your skill sets. What mattered when you were growing up. These are things that are yours. They are not something that we want to pass on. Like, for instance, I love to camp. I forced my children for years to go camping with me. Now it's interesting to see which of them actually liked to camp, which of them uses camping as the same thing I did, which was to restore my body. And then what are they going to do with that? So we have to resist imprinting what we know worked for us onto them. Number 4, have kick-ass boundaries. Absolute kick-ass boundaries. Know who you are, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. And then to be able to state that, which is, I am not willing to do that with you right now. This is what I need to do for me. So we're not kowtowing to this child and putting them first. What we're saying is, you chose me, I chose you, we're going to navigate through this together, but I need to know who I am. So I set my own times, my own energy, my own focus of what I have to offer. And I work on how I talk and communicate clearly to you as a child, so that you, like I would as if you were a friend or an adult. We don't use baby talk with these children. What we do is we say, I'm noticing that I'm a little triggered right now. I've got a client who has a little 3-year-old, and when she gets right straight to that place where she says, this is what I'm noticing and this is what I'm doing for myself, he walks up and he says, good job. Like, dang it. Took me so long to get that energy together. And of course, he noticed, right? Number 5, You are stewarding, providing safety, teaching this young one how to navigate on this world, in this earth. You have skills. You know how time works. You know how people interact. You know how what foods we need to eat. You know, all of this stuff, and all of that's open to be changed or improved upon. But you're the steward. You have to be adaptive and flexible and work with it, which is, oh my, this child is never going to eat a piece of meat in their entire life, so we have to learn how to be vegetarian. Or they have huge allergies in addition to that to any dairy products, so now we're really looking at being vegan, and how do we manage our proteins, and how do we, and you're just learning and adapting at all times, right? Because the environment that you create and the skills that you build will stretch you beyond what you ever thought. Yet this child is here to teach you, and you are here to make sure that they're ready for the future. Number 6, you will be dismantling everything. Everything that you ever knew to be true for you, because you're moving forward at such a rapid pace, and this child is going to take you there. So know this, prepare for this. And you know, you're the chosen parent. You're the one that this little being chose to take them forward. So it means that you're going to be letting go of the old. It's almost like, well, I'm on a covered wagon and I'm going west, and I'm really going to build this great house with all my old antiques. And mile by mile, it's like the horses are struggling. I've got to drop more stuff off, and you just leave your shit in trail all the way down. First out goes the heavy furniture, then, you know, then the stuff that's just, we don't have space for anymore. So what we're doing is we're literally dropping off the things that don't matter anymore. We're dismantling. Okay. And to know that. And then the number 7, and I know this is a little long, but just stick with me, is to ask your little one to help you when you don't know what to do. If you need to manifest a new job, if you need to know where you need to live, if you need to know what kind of school they need to go to, if you need to know what they need to eat, ask them to tell you. Talk to them telepathically, talk to them energetically, talk to them one-on-one as an adult, and collaborate. These are the tools that are going to be the most important. These are the tools that are working with teens right now. These are the tools that are going to be working with these little diamonds as they grow up. So this is the kind of stuff I do. If you'd like some assistance with that, or you want some clarity, there's tons of videos here on this site, as well as you can get a hold of me at DeniseDryden.com. Oh, excuse me, DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. So thank you so much for hanging in there, and have a great rest of 2020, and let's get ready for 2021. Bye.